What's up peeps, this is Todd and welcome back to my show. I recently put out a video entitled Why Rich People Have All the Money, and as expected I got a big mixed reaction from that. To some, it makes sense why rich people have all the money. Me personally, I am filming this video with my iPhone, and when I went to go buy an iPhone, I was helping Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, I was helping him get richer, just like millions of other people do because millions of other people buy iPhones. And ever notice how when you play a game of Monopoly, one person ends up with all the money? And that is true every time you have ever played Monopoly. One person ends up with all of the money and everybody else ends up with zero. And Monopoly is interesting because everybody starts out with the same money, the same opportunity, the same luck, so to speak. There is no privilege in the game of Monopoly because everybody starts off as equals. And yet, without fail, every time you play the game of Monopoly, somebody ends up with all the money and the rest of the players end up with zero. Now, in real life, it is true that a small minority of people end up with almost all of the money, and the rest of the people have a little bit of money to share between them. So it's not as though one person has 100% of the money and everybody else has zero, but it is absolutely true that a small group of individuals and a small group of companies, they hold the vast majority of the wealth and the money, and the remaining 99% of the population has significantly less. The problem is, we don't know exactly why this is the case. It's hard to pinpoint exactly why in the game of Monopoly, one person ends up with all the money and the rest of the people end up with zero. And it's difficult to measure what goes into economic life, whereby the consequence of free choice, you have a small group of individuals ending up with a lot of money, and you have the rest of the country on pretty modest means. To many people, that seems unfair and that it should be changed. And the issue is, we haven't actually figured out a good way to change it. When you tax wealthy people so that more money goes down to the bottom, those people that are at the bottom tend to just spend that money anyway, so it goes back up to the top. And if you tax those wealthy people too much, they'll choose to move their businesses elsewhere or shut those businesses down altogether because why would they take that risk and that investment if we're not going to reap the financial rewards? But I wanted to articulate my position that if you leave people to free choice and they can make their own decisions, there will always be people that rise to the top, and there will always be people who are upset about that. After World War I, many Russian peasants got their own farmland. People who were essentially peasants were somewhat liberated at the end of the war, and many of them acquired property, many acres of farmland, and began to grow crops. But just like economic society today, and similar to the game of Monopoly, only a small handful of farmers were actually successful in growing their crops. Now, maybe these farmers decided to work harder, or maybe they had more skill, but no matter what the reason is, you had many peasants get farmland and only a handful actually be able to produce good food that they would then sell for everybody else to eat. Well, socialist Russia didn't actually like that only a small handful of farmers were producing all the food and therefore getting rich. So what they did is they convinced the rest of the peasants and the rest of the farmers that their rich neighbors were evil and greedy, and that why should they have more farmland and why should they be producing more food? They basically put it in their mind that the 1% was a bunch of villains and that wasn't fair and that the wealth should be evenly distributed between everybody. So basically, Stalin campaigned the people that were in the middle class and poor. He campaigned them to organize themselves based on class and sort of initiate this class warfare. Then what happened is, once Stalin got these people rallied up and believing in him, he ordered government officials to go seize the land of these successful farmers, and they actually killed many of them too. So you have people who are once peasants, all of them become farmers. By nature of free choice, you have a few of those farmers become really successful, have a lot of land, and producing the vast majority of the food. And the socialist regime of Russia does not like that, so they go take the land and they kill the farmers. Now, the farmers that they didn't kill, they banish them to Siberia or to other countries, or they made it illegal for them to own land. So you have all these successful farmers that now are either dead or are barred from producing any food. But then this brings on the Russian famine, where because you took all the successful farmers and you either banished them or killed them, there's no successful farmers left to grow food. And under Stalin's rule and under this socialist regime, 6 million people starved to death because there was nobody left to grow food. So yes, a case can be made that it is unfair that some people at the top have all of the money. The problem is, the reason those Russian farmers back in the 1920s became rich is because they were just better at what they did. The cold hard truth is that they were better farmers. They were more talented. They decided to put in the work that the other farmers didn't. And because of that, they were able to grow more food and be really smart with how they harvested it. It's the same thing today, where you have a small group of people that are providing the vast majority of the housing, they're producing most of the food, their platform allows you to buy most of the goods and services, or they're producing most of the entertainment or whatever it is. And if you rally all the poor and middle class people to go overthrow this rich elite, eventually there'll be nobody left to produce the goods and services that you and I love to buy. If starting a big company that employed thousands of people was easy, then everybody would do it. The truth is, it takes a lot of intelligence, grit, hard work, and effort to have the foresight to put everything you own on the line, leverage your house and your assets and your cash, and put that up to start a business which creates jobs, economic opportunity, and goods and services for the people. And if you want to dismantle that through socialism, if you want to go and you want to tear these businesses down, if you want to seize the property of the people who are producing for this country, and if you want to burn capitalism to the ground, eventually there'll be nobody left to build anything. Well, I hope this video is helpful to you, and I'll see you at the next one. Peace.